Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding the ultimate flight plan for human potential and strategic execution. Look, if you've got the talent but somehow still struggle to get off the ground, you're definitely in the right place.
Let's kick things off by picturing a massive, state-of-the-art jet sitting out on the tarmac. The engines are roaring, the pilot is highly trained, but that incredible machine is completely grounded if it lacks the runway space to build momentum. Human potential, it works exactly the same way. All your knowledge, all your ambition, it literally cannot take off without clear, strategic goals giving you that necessary acceleration space.
Here's our flight manifest for today. We'll be covering the runway to success, the psychology of clarity, blueprints for strategic direction, engines of daily execution, and finally, your strategic flight plan. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the runway to success, generating momentum.
You know, ambiguity comes with a surprisingly heavy cost. Without clear goals, your effort is just scattered energy. Your motivation drops, and you end up creating a ton of activity without any real progress. It's exhausting, right? But inject clear goals into the mix, and suddenly that exact same energy becomes focused power with selective attention. You're taking chaos and turning it into strategic, directed progress.
Moving on to section 2, let's look under the hood at the psychology of clarity, the brain's navigation system.
Imagine your brain is constantly running this background program. It's asking 5 subconscious questions to figure out if it should engage or just shut down to save energy. Where am I going? Why does this matter? What's the next step? What does success look like? And what's the reward? If your brain can't clearly answer these questions, you're going to feel constant, draining resistance to doing the work.
So here's the crucial takeaway. The point isn't just that SMART goals are good for business. They are actually the ultimate answer to those subconscious brain questions we just talked about. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound objectives act like cognitive grease. They eliminate mental friction and perfectly align your intentions with your actual behavior.
In the biology behind this, it is absolutely fascinating. Highly clear goals physically activate the reticular activating system, or RAS, at the base of your brain. This biological trigger effectively turns your mind into a heat-seeking missile. It makes your focus highly selective, drastically boosts your productivity, and honestly, it allows you to spot opportunities and solutions that were essentially invisible to you before. It's a total game changer.
Next up is Section 3, Blueprints for Strategic Direction. These are the tools for the navigator.
Before you can safely set your coordinates, you've got to analyze your current reality. Running a SWOT analysis does exactly this. Acknowledging a massive skill gap or a looming market threat doesn't ground you. Actually, it calibrates your instruments. It turns wishful thinking into a highly realistic strategic roadmap.
So, once you know where you stand, where do you go? Well, you can either fight in the bloody, crowded waters of a red ocean, just scrapping for tiny slivers of market share, or you can design goals that build a blue ocean. For instance, instead of competing as just another standard consultant, what if you invented a totally unique psychotech framework? You don't compete for the space, you literally create the value space.
Now, to push that innovation even further, you can apply design thinking. By empathizing with the problem, defining it, ideating, prototyping, and testing, you aren't just setting static targets anymore. You're building dynamic innovation engines that evolve in real time right alongside the market. But for holistic execution, these goals can't just exist in isolation. A strategy map connects them across 4 really critical layers: learning new skills, improving internal processes, delivering real customer value, and generating financial results. Connecting the dots here ensures your entire operation is perfectly aligned.
Which brings us to Section 4, Engines of Daily Execution, Accelerating to Liftoff.
Think about a heavy aircraft. It has to move chronologically through alignment, acceleration, and liftoff. Well, your personal leadership journey follows the exact same physics. You start with goal clarity for fuel and direction, then you move into consistent daily execution, which acts as your engine thrust. Finally, that built-up momentum allows you to overcome gravity and achieve peak performance liftoff. Clear goals remove friction at every single stage.
And speaking of daily execution, peak performance actually isn't about making massive, exhausting leaps. Sustainable execution relies heavily on one surprisingly small metric.
Just 1%.
That tiny number highlights Kaizen, the Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement. The real secret here is that a mere 1% improvement daily, whether that's in your habits, your focus, your knowledge, or discipline, compounds dramatically over time into an absolutely extraordinary outcome. It's the consistency, not the intensity, that creates true thrust.
Of course, no flight is without turbulence, right? To maintain decision agility when things get choppy, you rely on the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. Fun fact, this was actually developed by a military fighter pilot named John Boyd for rapid, high-stakes dogfights. Spinning this loop faster than your competition keeps you firmly in the pilot's seat, no matter what storms pop up.
But keeping those engines running smoothly also requires some pretty brutal priority management. Your energy is finite. By applying productivity possibility frontier analysis, you fiercely protect your high-value strategic execution and mercilessly cut tasks that just burn fuel without moving you forward.
All right, final stretch. Section 5, your strategic flight plan, taking the controls.
So here is your complete master toolkit. This 7-step action plan merges vision and daily habits into a living architecture. You define a decade-long vision, lock it down with smart parameters and SWOT realities, build your strategy map, execute adaptively with the OODA loop, and improve by just 1% every single day.
A challenge is simply a problem without a strategy. I love this quote because it perfectly reframes adversity. With your strategic architecture in place, an economic crisis, new competition, or a tech disruption, it doesn't ground you. It actually becomes a launch pad because you just apply your strategy directly to the problem. Ultimately, when your execution is this dialed in, you transform into a lighthouse leader. You don't have to frantically chase opportunities or ships in the night. Instead, you radiate direction with such absolute clarity that progress just naturally accelerates around you.
Because execution without clarity is downright suffocating, I want to leave you with one final thought. Look closely at your current objectives right now. Are they a clear, paved runway, or are you just burning jet fuel in the dirt? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, here is to your highly successful liftoff.